And I don't want to trash the film like everyone else, but we are going to trash this film. What are your initial thoughts so far?
It's the first of her kind. A real life superhero.
What's up, YouTube? Driveby Movies here, and you are watching
Fresh Releases.
My name is James.
My name is Blaze.
And today we are checking out the movie that everyone's raving about, just hit theaters and just hit Peacock, Firestarter.
I can help you.
Liar, liar, pants on fire. I don't want to hurt anyone, but it feels kind of good.
Firestarter is directed by Keith Thomas and is the story of a young girl that tries to understand how she mysteriously gained the power to set things on fire with her mind. So this film, as you said, is brand new to Peacock. It's starring Zac Efron. It's a Peacock. Is it a Peacock? The thing I was confused about, is it a Peacock exclusive or it's also in theaters, but not really? That's what I couldn't really quite grasp.
So it is also in theaters right now, but, you know, like Universal, they own Peacock as well as NBC, so they've been trying to, update things. So I think they did the same thing for Halloween Kills, where they simultaneously doing it, and that was a hit in theaters. I don't know if it was a hit on Peacock or not, but for whatever reason, they decided to do the same thing with this. Might have to do with Blumhouse, I guess. Maybe they're just juggling it, thought that it'd be great. And, you'd think that Blumhouse movies are going to be successful, but coming off the weekend, this is one of their misses financially, like crazy. Only made for $12 million, but I don't see it making $12 million at the box office because I think it only came away with like $3.5 million over the weekend. But hopefully those Peacock views are helping out because that's how we watched the movie. And I don't want to trash the film like everyone else, but we are going to trash this film. What are your initial thoughts so far?
So yeah, this film is just, it's entirely a miss. I can't be like, oh, I absolutely loved the original Firestarter or anything. I think I've seen the film once before a long time ago. I hardly remember it besides a very young Drew Barrymore. So I don't really have any this isn't like the old film, or I don't have any nostalgia even for the original film or the book, so all of that is lost on me, but I still feel like I could be upset with the crowd that is like, this film is just, it's not even a good update. It's not a good remake or even just like a good telling of the story in the first place. It's just this film, it felt like it had absolutely no substance, but felt extremely cheap to the sense that it just felt so cheap. And when you said the budget of $12 million, that's even shocking because that's very low. But this film honestly felt even like way lower than that. Like, I don't know if they gave Zac Efron a 10 and called it a day, but this film just, it does not feel like $12 million. It just feels so poorly. I don't know. It's just so poorly done. It's very uninteresting. It's upsetting how bad it is at times. And at the end of it, I feel like it's so funny that one of the things that Peacock that kind of differentiates it from the other, streaming competitors, how everyone kind of brings their own thing to the table, like all the Amazon films, because they own IMDb, they put the IMDb score on there. Like anyone cares about an IMDb film score, but Peacock, I'm assuming they have the rights to put the fresh or the the Rotten Tomatoes, either fresh or rotten symbol on the film. And this is a Peacock exclusive. And right next to it, when I booted up, it was like 17%. I was like, ah, shit, buckle up. What am I getting into?
Well, it got even worse. It's now at 13 from what last I saw. It could be even lower by the time this video comes out. But yeah, I have no experience with Firestarter. I know about the movie, and I knew it was based off a Stephen King novel. So I don't know whether it's, familiar or similar in plot. From what I read, it looked like it was a pretty similar story. It might have just like a slightly different take on the ending. But like, I give kudos to Zac Efron for trying to do something different. He probably took a pay cut. I know that's a big thing with Blumhouse. They always always say like, you know, we'll pay you minimal, but you'll get extra money as the movie does well in the box office. And I don't think that'll be the case. But like, I just feel like he's poorly miscast in this movie. He's fine in it, but just it's hard to see him as a dad still. He's at that right age to be playing these kind of dad roles, but I didn't buy it for 1 second. There was no chemistry between him and his wife, and there were no rules established with these psychic powers, which was very disappointing because at the end of the movie, just out of nowhere, Charlie is able to open all the security locks too. Like, what kind of power is that? Like, is that like her mom had telekinetic powers, her dad had telepathic powers, and then like she can control fire, but also can read minds like her dad, and then also control things like her mom. There's just no rules established, I guess. Like I would think it would just be the fire and that's it. I don't know what's the deal with the book or the original movie, but just that didn't make sense. And then what really holds this movie back, though, is the writing of this movie. I looked up the writer. So it's written by Scott TEEMS. There was no team involved. That's the name, Scott TEEMS. It's just the solo guy. And I'm looking at his list of movies that he's gotten right now. He directed 2 movies. The Quarry, it looks like it stars Michael Shannon. A movie I've never heard of called That Evening Sun. Both are like decently reviewed movies on Letterboxd, but not popular by any means. And then out of nowhere, he's just doing every big franchise. He's doing the 5th Insidious movie. He wrote the Exorcist movie that David Gordon Green's doing. He also wrote Halloween Kills, and he wrote Firestarter. Blumhouse, why'd you give this to some guy? Like, what happened? Like, I thought you guys were taking these remakes seriously with Invisible Man, and then, you know, I really enjoyed the Halloween reboot. Whether or not you liked Halloween Kills, I know you and I were a little indifferent on that one. I know you hated it. I kind of somewhat enjoyed it, but like the script in that movie, it was definitely the worst part of that movie. And just how is he all of a sudden like, this is the guy I'm going to rely on for one of my favorite horror films of all time, The Exorcist. He's doing this reboot, and then Insidious Chapter 5, that's fine, whatever, but who is this dude, and why do you guys trust this guy so much? It's garbage.
So I have to say, writing easily some of the worst, especially for this film. But going back to Halloween Kills, dude, like that film is just so. I hated it. I mean, you said that. And to not go back into that review, yeah, I hated it. I don't know. I don't trust this guy, Scott TEEMS. I know Blumhouse clearly trusts him. And I think that I did kind of remember that this was a Blumhouse movie. Like, I kind of forgot it after watching it. Like, somehow they Men in Black'd me, and I forgot that this was like a Blumhouse film. But it totally makes sense, because this feels like some of those Blumhouse movies that we watched on, you know, streaming, but it was in theaters. Which is bad. I feel like that shouldn't be I feel like this was so bad it shouldn't even be in theaters. Like, I wouldn't have been as offended if this was just exclusively on Peacock.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I think Universal kind of predicted it, just not doing well. I mean, they probably saw that Halloween Kills wasn't as well received critically. Like, let's do this simultaneous thing, and they probably saw ahead of time that this movie probably was not going to be critically acclaimed by any means. And I mean, just watching the acting is also not that great I hate talking crap about child actors, but if you're going to make a movie about kids, you need to make sure they can carry the movie, and she really doesn't. Part of it does have to do with the script. Like, I found it so unbelievable, those dorky lines like liar liar pants on fire, like, oh, but like it felt good when she was like talking about like how she burned those people and like it was her first time, and she's like, it's like, it should always feel bad, and she's like, oh, but it feels good. Like, kids don't talk this way, and just it's very unrealistic. So like, part of it is the script, but just like, I'm sorry to this poor kid, but like, just they didn't carry the film. And like, you know, kid actors, we know they can act. I mean, look at It and Stranger Things. Like, kids can carry a movie just fine, but just that's not the case with this movie. And the acting's really poor. I forgot the character's name, but whoever the captain was, who was like in charge of that whole thing, like some of her lines are ridiculous. And just like, also another thing, like this guy who's hunting him down the whole movie, spoilers, but he ends up like did I miss something? Why does she go with him? He literally killed her mom, and he tried to kill her dad and kill that poor old man. Why does, like, I know he like says like, you know, I deserve it, go ahead and kill me, and she chooses not to, but then at the end they hold hands and he carries her off into the beach. I mean, there's no sunset, but it's nighttime, but he carries her off, and like, I was like, what is this? Why do you trust this dude all of a sudden? And why am I supposed to care about this guy? This guy was the assassin trying to hunt them down. Not sure if I missed something, but that was another question I had.
I don't think you missed anything. I think that's just like the twist that they basically were setting up, but also they're setting up for a sequel, you know? Because, I mean, essentially, I think we have to look at it of why this film got greenlit, and like the way that they wanted to tell a new version of Firestarter, while also being like, this film is, I think one of the things we have to talk about most of all is like, this film is, you know, done in a modern take, but then it strangely has like very 80s inspired synthwave John Carpenter music, and it's just really doesn't fit together. But the score is a fucking banger. Like, I honestly love the score. I had heard it before even seeing the movie, so I like was like, oh, this movie actually might be kind of sick, because the score was so good. And the score is almost so good to it actually being a detriment to the film, because it doesn't fit with the film. It just is glaringly mismatched, and like the score being good is almost like makes the film worse in a way. Like, it detracts from the film, which is weird. You wouldn't think it would work out that way, but it definitely does. And it feels like them kind of trying to modernize the movie. Like, everything takes place now, you know, it's not an 80s movie, but hey, let's go to the 80s or an 80s inspired like score. It just doesn't work. But more importantly, like, them trying to modernize the movie, them wanting to kind of turn, like, yes, it is kind of could be like a superhero style movie in a way, but I think that's definitely was one of the major things that probably greenlit this movie. Is like, oh, this is a superhero movie, but for horror fans.
And we got that a couple of years ago, and it's actually, I mean, this movie, I think you hate this movie a little bit more than I do, but one of my most hated films of all time was Brightburn, and like, we just got that a couple years ago, and that movie was not critically or financially liked. I mean, I think there is some audience, but that was like one of my most hated movies. We get the same thing here, where just like, I don't understand the motivations of these kids, and just like, it doesn't tell for a good story, and like, yeah, it just doesn't work well.
It has all of the tropes and problems that superhero movies have, that people for some reason haven't gotten over, but then in a not even a horror movie, I just call it a genre movie. There's nothing really horrific about this movie beyond some of the interactions with how the kids, you know, are kind of approaching these subjects, I guess. But yeah, this film just doesn't work, I feel like, on any level. Like, it's just it's beyond disappointing. It just doesn't work. It's just like, why did I even watch this? This is such a waste of time. And it sucks saying that, and it sucks, like, I don't think either of us like reviewing or talking about movies that we didn't like. Like, we'd love to sit here for a freaking hour and talk about After Yang, but we're over here for, you know, what is this now, like 13 minutes, and I feel like we're already long-winded on a movie that doesn't deserve like 3 minutes. Right.
Yeah, that's exactly it and stuff. Like, I just wanted to like air some of my grievances out, because you know, I always enjoyed trying to enjoy a movie, but I've seen a couple bad movies in the past couple weeks already with Doctor Strange and now this, so you know, just like, oh, it's a bummer. But you know, next week we're checking out The Sadness, so hopefully that movie is very well received by both of us. But you know, is there anyone out there who likes this movie? Because if so, let us know in the comments, like, how wrong we are. I mean, for the most part, it seems like everyone does kind of in the same thought process, but we hate being in that thought process. We like to be different every once in a while, but this is one of the ones where just like, yep, word of mouth is it's bad, and we're here to confirm it. So yeah, great way to help support the shows by checking out the movie itself. It's in theaters. You can watch it on Peacock. You can rent it through our Amazon affiliate link eventually. Yeah, so come back here and leave a comment. Let us know what you thought.
And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and click that notification bell to get all of our latest updates.
And be sure to catch all our social media links down below in the description box for Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, you name it. Anyways, guys, that'll conclude this week's episode. Tune in next week for a brand new video.